Um, Good morning. Um, I'm here with Sarah Currie, her dad, Major Retired General Gerald Currie, and Don Chapman. This is a story about second generation Canadian, and this is a story of Sarah and her husband Michael that were both born abroad, um, born in Germany. Sarah, dad was serving in Baden, and Sarah was born in Lahr. Her husband was born in the same base. Michael's parents were teachers that were teaching Canadian children in Germany schooling, and the chances of them meeting later on and getting married in Canada was one probably in a million, but they did. They're trying to adopt a child, and the child is baby Smith in Haiti. And the situation is that both Sarah and Michael were first generation born abroad, so therefore they're Canadians, but their child is not a Canadian because baby Smith was born in Haiti, and therefore by adoption he is automatically a Canadian, should be a Canadian, but because he was second generation born abroad, they cannot bring baby Smith to home. Um, this has Sarah and her husband, which is a military individual. He's done 3 tours in Afghanistan. Very upset. Retired Major Currie is also very upset. I am livid. And I also have with me Don Chapman, which has been an advocate for Lost Canadians for many, many years. But the one thing that is very, very upsetting is the fact that Sarah was advised to put baby Smith's paper in as a citizen, and that was last summer. And to this very day, Citizenship and Immigration has not given her a clear indication as if they will accept them or does she have to sponsor. Um, and after having contacted both CPC Sydney as well as the minister's office, we were pretty well brushed off, and that has me very concerned. We have started an online petition. Close to 480 people and more are coming. They are demanding that the Citizenship and Immigration Minister, Mr. Kenney, does something. This is a unique situation, but it's not a unique situation to the fact that we have second generation Canadians born abroad to parents that are either working or are either studying or are traveling abroad, and that is the frustration that we expressed when C-37 was coming in. And the situation has not been rectified today. Unfortunately, Mr. Kenney and the Conservatives are like ostriches. They dug their heads in the sand and they don't want to listen. At this point in time, I want to ask Don to say a couple of words, and then we will bring it back to Sarah and her dad for them to express their frustrations as well as to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Um, I'm a member of the Arizona chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. This is actually their tie, and in honor of them, the whole issue we're talking about here is about discrimination, and discrimination right here in Canada. Jim is very accurate in saying about this Bill C-37. It was a great bill, but it left out 5% of the people, which, I mean, just recently in the United States, they had an election where it was really unacceptable to leave out 47% of the people. And in World War II in Germany, only 6% were Jewish, and we should take some lessons. In human rights, you don't leave out 5% of your people. You strive at all times to get them all, and especially when this is just so basic. What they're saying about the second generation born abroad is that Sarah and her husband don't have a substantial connection to Canada. The answer is very simple. I've been asking for almost 5 years to meet with Mr. Kenney to fix this issue and to fix others. We have a lady going on trial in Vancouver who's being kicked out of Canada because she was born out of wedlock. We also have people being denied because they were born in wedlock. In other words, when they passed Bill C-37, they not only made mistakes on the second generation born abroad issue, but they put a date of retroactivity So that meant they just added age to the discriminatory effects. It can be cleared up very simply, and I'm calling on the Prime Minister and the Citizenship Minister. Let's meet. Let's sit down. Let's fix this. All the parties want to do it. So the hang-up is right there at the top level. Nobody should be made stateless, and we've been making stateless babies on this. Nobody should have to go to trial because they were born in or out of wedlock today. And the way they interpret the laws, all 112,000 of our Canadian soldiers, and this is D-Day, are not going to be recognized as being ours as Canadian citizens. Canada is a country that should be acceptance, a beacon of light for human rights. It starts with people like Sarah and her husband.
Good morning. Ideally, Michael and I would like our son to enter Canada as a Canadian citizen, just like the rest of his family. We realize that legislation might not change in time for us to do that. However, for the past 10 months, Citizenship and Immigration has not been processing our application, which we filed on their advice. We will not have another 10 months to wait for them to process a sponsorship application. Our adoption is scheduled to be finalized before Christmas of this year, and we need a way to be able to bring our son home to be with us and his family.
It's important that we remember that today is D-Day. We asked our men and women to give up their lives. As a result of D-Day, we were in Germany for a number of years, and Major Retired Sarah Currie, who is the father of Sarah, was stationed in Baden in Germany. And I am sure, like a father like myself of 5 daughters, I'm sure he has a lot of frustrations.
Thank you. I completed 37 years of service with the Canadian Forces, loved every one of them, and was sorry to leave when I retired. So I have no issues with the Canadian Forces. It was wonderful. I do have issues, however, with Immigration and Citizenship Canada concerning my daughter and son-in-law's efforts to adopt a child from Haiti. About 2 years ago, Sarah and her husband started this process, and when they informed us of their intentions, my wife Anne and I were overjoyed. I know that her husband's parents felt the same. We could hardly wait. We have a granddaughter, and we are really looking forward to a grandson. However, the last few months have been extremely frustrating. It's hard as a parent to see what Sarah and her husband are going through. They've been given wrong information, sometimes no information at all, and they're being held in limbo. The time has come for somebody to make a common sense decision. The magnitude of this is considerable. Since the end of the war, hundreds of thousands of Canadian Forces personnel and their dependents, as well as civilians employed by the Department of National Defense overseas, have faced similar problems. Ours is being brought to light simply because both Sarah and her husband were both born in Germany, a couple of years apart in the same hospital, and eventually found each other in Canada and got married. So in a way, their case is a bit exceptional, but the magnitude is enormous. There have to be a lot of other people out there that are affected by this law, which to me makes absolutely no sense. And I would plead with Immigration Canada to get on with it, settle this matter, because the decision should be obvious to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm calling on Minister Kenney to do the right thing. and either tell these folks that we're granting you citizenship or go ahead and sponsor Baby Smith. That should have been the advice straight from the beginning. Baby Smith would have been finalized by now. He would have been home with both Sarah and Michael. I've met Michael. He is a gentleman. He is looking forward to his son coming to Canada. And he has served, as I said, a couple of tours in Afghanistan. Here we've got a grandfather and we have a father that we've asked and put in harm's way, and yet we as Canadians, and especially the government of Canada, is not looking after them. Thank you.
A couple.
Sure.
This has been awkward, but do you have any sense of how many of these adoption situations of second generation born abroad are out there? This is probably not the only case.
It's not the only case. I've personally worked on 2 cases. There was a child that was in China, and I met her and her father in China. I know that there's another one in Japan, but the numbers are staggering, because when we were in committee back a couple of years ago, I asked for the number of cases of children born abroad, first, second generation, and you can see the curve going up exponentially. This is the tip of the iceberg.
And it's not just born. Oh, excuse me. And it's not just adopted children. The one that Jim referred to in China was a natural born child. So I mean, it's both. And taking away the adoption or natural born, it's parents being separated from their children. That's a very clear violation of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child.
So there's the when you talk about lost Canadians, the pre-1947 and then the second generation born abroad, which of course wasn't a problem before 2009, my understanding.
Right.
How optimistic are you that the government will act in one case, let's say pre-1947,
In order
and
to
not the
deal
other?
with lost Canadians, C-37, we had to have a unanimous report for the minister. I was the only holdout. Because my daughter being born abroad, first generation born abroad, and I was the only holdout, and I didn't want to have the only first generation born abroad. And I was arm twisted, and I said, okay, I'll sign on just in order to deal with the situation. But C-37 has caused us first generation only born abroad to be Canadians, and second not. This is the as we saying, this is the tip of the iceberg, and there will be more and more stories coming out.
I was very involved in C-37. It had to be unanimous. And we were promised in the Senate that they would address this issue within 1 year after Bill C-37 became effective. And that never happened. I mean, that was 2008, April 17th of 2008. We're now past that 5 years, and we're still waiting for an answer on this one. This was well predicted.
Sunset on this particular clause isn't to revisit it in 5
No,
years.
no
or
sunset
anything.
clause,
So,
no. But I mean, there should be a sunset clause placed on Mr. Kenney, and a sunset clause that he is not allowing Sarah and Michael and their grandparents to bring Baby Smith home. This is a no-brainer. Baby Smith has to be brought home. They gave them the wrong advice. They gave me the runaround when I contacted the minister's office as well as CIC department. This is a story of love. This is a story of human kindness. This is a story of a mother wanting her child and a father wanting his child. When we asked the father to put himself in harm's way, when today we're celebrating D-Day, we have a grandfather which is a veteran, I cannot see a more moving situation in order to move quickly.
have to go the sponsoring route. Is there a problem with that? Is it the delays that would create, or is it just you would have liked to do that 8 months ago?
They should have been advised to do this 8 months ago. They should be, if the situation with the citizenship does not go through, they should be advised to go through this right now. If I'm not mistaken, the decision is still pending since April 14th.
Yes. I contacted CIC last summer to find out how Bill C-37 would affect people like Mike and I.